Scratch was my first experience with coding. I loved it because I could make games in it. And I loved making games because I loved playing games. I would spend a lot of time playing games. But even if you're not young, and even if you don't like games, this is a good place to start because it's simple and it teaches you the basics. So let's start making a game in Scratch. Go to Scratch, and if you haven't already created an account, create one. Go to My Stuff, add a new project. Now let's rename this sprite to badGuy because he's going to be the bad guy. Now before we do anything else, we need to download an image that will be our gun sprite. A sprite in Scratch is essentially an image with code tied to it. In general game development, a sprite refers to a 2D image. This looks like a good image, so let's save it to the downloads directory and upload it to Scratch. This doesn't need to be an image. You could draw it yourself or use one of Scratch's existing sprites instead. But click on the upload button and select your image. And there you go, you uploaded an image to Scratch. Now let's add some code to it. In Scratch, coding is as easy as dragging some blocks around. What we want this gun to do is to follow the mouse around so that it looks like you're pointing your gun at wherever your mouse is. So when the start button is clicked, we want it to forever go to the mouse pointer. Now if we hit play, we'll see our gun pointing at wherever our mouse is. So what we gotta do now is we gotta get the bad guy to die when we shoot him. But before we do that, let's get rid of this white background behind the pistol. So head over to the costumes tab and let's start erasing the white background. While we're at the costumes tab, I'm also going to move the image so that the tip of the gun is at the center of the sprite. This way the tip of the gun will be at the mouse cursor. Now that's done, let's head over to the code tab. We're going to add some code to the bad guy now. I'm going to add a when start clicked block, but before I do anything else, I'm going to add a custom block. I'm going to call it die because this will describe what happens when the enemy dies. So when the enemy dies, we want him to play a sound. Let's make him play the meow sound. We also want him to disappear, so we'll add a block that deletes him. Now back to when start clicked. When start clicked, we want it to forever if the mouse is down and the sprite is touching the mouse. Then we want it to die, so we'll drag our custom block in there. So I'll say that again. When start clicked, it will forever be checking that the mouse is down and the sprite is touching the mouse, and if that is true, then it will die. But before we hit play, I'm going to make a few changes to the die function. Instead of deleting the sprite, I'm just going to make it move to a random position. This way it will seem like a new enemy is spawning. So let's hit play and see it in action. Okay, it's pretty cool, but it could be better. So let's make it better by adding what's called game juice. Game juice makes a game feel more fun to play. It makes it feel, well, juicier. Let's make this bad guy look more evil. Now let's add a sprite that will be like a blood splat, which will appear behind the bad guy whenever we kill him. Make sure to name the sprite Explosion, or something like that. Now head over to the bad guy's code. Here we'll create a clone of the explosion sprite. Now head over to the explosions code where we'll add these lines. When start is clicked, it's initially hidden, but when it spawns as a clone, it goes to the mouse pointer and gets shown. Now let's hit start and check it out. Great, it's working, but the gun sprite is behind the explosion sprites, and the bad guy sprite is also behind the explosion sprites. To fix this, we just need to tell the gun script to go to the front layer when start is clicked. We also need to tell the explosion script to go to the back layer when the start is clicked. And there you have it. You just made a game in Scratch.